So I know exactly what you guys are thinking right now, and it's not that. I actually just have really, really bad allergies. I could also be as high as Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa on top of a reefer spaceship heading to High Mountain, and you guys wouldn't be able to tell the difference. What's going on with you guys? The CaliEffect, king of games here. And today, we're gonna be talking about something that could get you high on your win count at least. That's right, guys. While it may seem like this meta is solved, there are still some really hidden secret tech cards that you guys could be playing that would outright win you games. And if I'm lying, I'm flying right now. It's seriously normal me all the time, so you still won't know if I'm high or not. These are some cards that may have just seen a little bit of play, but are definitely getting the results. So of course, if you guys want to see more CaliEffect content, you already know what to do. Use your 5th summon to Nibiru that subscribe button, but also go ahead and hit that notification bell if you want to stay strong. Also, of course, if you guys want to talk about stuff like this with me personally before it gets to video, then consider joining my Patreon. We actually have a super secret section in the cut where nobody can find that we talk about stuff about this. So without further ado, let's jump on in and talk about these cards. The first card I want to talk to you guys about is Chill. Boy, this card is amazing, as Ghost Mortar in Moonlit Chill is similar to how cards that are really popular in this Yu-Gi-Oh format like Effect Veiler and Infinite Impermanence is, except it's a little bit different. What Moonlit Chill does is if your opponent special summons monsters to their side of the field, you can target one of those face-up monsters, discard this card, and negate that monster's effect. And if that monster just so happens to leave the field this turn, then the card's controller takes damage equal to its original attack. Now, ever since Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, the Ghost Girl series has been late on arrival when it comes to it being printed and it being competitive. Ghost Mortar is another card similar to Effect Veiler in Infinite Permanence. It definitely has its drawbacks, like only being able to be used on a special summon monster, but it also has its benefits, like being able to be used at any given time and also inflicting damage when your opponent decides to get rid of it for a link, tribute summon, ritual summon, or whatever. This card is pretty chill. Chill like how I would be if I were high. Moonlit Chill is an excellent card overall because it negates monster effects in a meta where monster effects are really important. But where this card would really shine is against a deck like Prank Kids, negating an opponent's Prank Kids Doodle Doodle Doo, preventing them from searching another Prank Kid spell or trap, and forcing them to take damage if they do have the extender with the card like Prank Kids Pandemonium or Polymerization. Boy, that is strong. Another card that just so happens to be really chill, so chill that it flew completely under the radar, is Skullmeister. Now, Skullmeister is a very impactful Yu-Gi-Oh card, mainly because at the cost of discarding this card from your hand, you can negate the activation of an effect activating in the graveyard. Skullmeister is really good against decks like Tri-Brigade. Take, for example, if your opponent wants to search with a monster like Tri-Brigade Nerval, you can discard Skullmeister from your hand to negate that effect, or if your opponent wants to gain advantage in the mid-game off a Tri-Brigade Shreg, well, you should already know what Skullmeister does by now. In the Outlich matchup, being able to Skullmeister Outlich the Golden Lord, preventing it from summoning itself to the side of the field can be huge, as they kind of need Golden Lord back to their side of the field. This card is also dynamic as it can not only hit monsters, but their spell and trap cards, preventing them from being able to set other Outlich cards to their side of the field. I know that Yu-Gi-Oh is expensive in 2021, and that's what makes Skullmeister even a better tech, as this card does come super uncommon at very affordable rates. You could say when it comes to hand traps, this card just might be a Meister inside of the meta, because moving forward, I included these cards on my buy these cards before they skyrocket in price because they're really good. And of course, if you want to check out that video, I would strongly advise to. But let's start talking about cards like Rivalry of the Warlords in this format. Basically, what Rivalry of the Warlords does is that players can only control one type of monster. If they control multiple types of monsters, then they have to send from their field to the graveyard until they only control one type. Rivalry of the Warlords is insane in a format where players want to play multiple types inside of their deck, and that just so happens to be what the top decks are. Take, for example, Tri-Brigade, also known as BBW, because you know how we like our girls, guys. Seriously, you might not like the deck, but imagine going to your locals and it's full of BBWs. Like, God, where do I sign up and take my wallet? Since this deck comprises of Beast, Beast Warrior, and Winged Beast monsters, Rivalry of the Warlords kind of prevents them from summoning multiple monsters that they want to summon. And almost the exact same thing could be said about a card named Gozen Match, as this card prevents players from summoning monsters with multiple attributes on their side of the field. Using Gozen Match against a deck like Prank Kids would be pretty tough for them, as they really want to summon those multiple attributes to their side of the field. Now, as stated so many times before, these cards are complete blowout Yu-Gi-Oh cards right now. You should strongly consider playing them if your deck can handle it. I mean, there's only room for one Warlord over here. Not gonna have a Gozen Match if it goes down to it, right? In a format where so many decks are ultra reliant from special summoning from the extra deck, especially when they need to get those cards out fast, and there's a lot of back row destruction, this will just spells a recipe for playing Artifact Scythe. Now, basically what Artifact Scythe does is if this card is destroyed on your opponent's turn while in your spell and trap card zone, it can special summon itself. Also, for the rest of the turn, your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. This card is ridiculously dangerous inside of a format where so many decks special summon from the extra deck, it literally looks at them like, you want a special summon? You want a special summon? Oh, that's good. I want to, yeah, that's not gonna happen. And just before you do the people's eyebrow on Artifact Scythe, this card is actually a lot easier to summon, as both of those effects are separate effects. As long as Artifact Scythe is special summoned on your opponent's turn, it can trigger its effect. And that's where Artifact Sanctum comes in, a card that allows you to special summon an artifact monster to your side of the field, as long as you don't conduct your battle phase this turn. I really had to read this card's effect because I have never seen Artifact Sanctum activated on your turn. What are we doing here? There's also a bonus to Artifact Sanctum. If it is destroyed by an opponent's card, it can also destroy a card on your opponent's side of the field. So if your opponent wanted to use a quick back row destruction card to destroy your Artifact Sanctum, not only can you special summon Scythe, which would lock them out of their extra deck, you can also destroy a card on your opponent's side of the field. This card is extremely strong against decks like Virtual World, decks that are ultra reliant on their extra deck and don't really have anything else to offer if they can't go into their extra deck. Imagine ending your opponent's turn and then going for a huge play right after. Another card that players should strongly consider playing is a legitimate answer to the cards that can't be destroyed by battle, can't be destroyed by card effects, can't be removed from the field, can't be targeted, takes half of your opponent's life points when it's summoned. At the start of your turn, your opponent must give you $100. If they do not, you get to punch them in the face. And if your opponent's girlfriend is there, all you have to do is flash her a shiny card and she leaves with you. Also, once per turn, if your opponent has not watched this, you get to call them a very bad player. Like, very bad. It's just so fortunate that you guys aren't bad players because any single one of the kaijus can handle those problems. Now, I genuinely mean any single one of the kaijus except for that one. Don't play that kaiju. It doesn't do what we're trying to do. But we're going to take GAMM Seal to Sea Turtle Kaiju just so I can show you a Yu-Gi-Oh card and we can make really cool sound effects with it. Everybody likes sound effects. Whoosh. Bing. I just made up that sound effect. What GAMM Seal does is blah, 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 tribute your opponent's monster and give this to your opponent. This card is actually excellent when going against Drytron Herald, as being able to get rid of your opponent's Herald of Ultimateness or Red Eyes Dark Dragoon with no repercussions is pretty cool. It's a one-for-one trade. Kaijus are pretty good in this card game, so unless you got the Terminator on your side, just terminate the other cards your opponent summons. I'm sorry, I gotta say it right. The Terminator. Here to tribute your opponent's monsters. I ain't say that right at all, but my impersonation is getting better. And the last card I want to bring to you guys' attention is a card that I've been saying in quite a few videos. Different Dimension Ground is, oh my god, this card is amazing. Basically, what Different Dimension Ground does is that you can activate this card to win the game. Seriously, have you ever activated a card and won the game? That's what this card does. But in all seriousness, this card says when it is activated, any monster sent to the graveyard is banished instead. In a format where I just mentioned that cards need to go into the graveyard, Different Dimension Ground can literally be a game ender. Different Dimension Ground is really good against decks like Shaddoll. Imagine having an extra deck monster face up, your opponent activates Shaddoll Fusion, does the Birdman hand rub, and then you flip that DD Ground. Those get banished now. So now you can tell me, how's Squamata? How's Squamata doing? Not too well, I assume. Well, that is all that I have for secret texts that will win you games. Also, of course, if you guys have any other texts that have been working for you, make sure to post down below in the comment section, and also be sure to check out these videos, as I'll catch you on the next one.